The reason the CBC is always so kind to the governing Liberal Party, so fawning of what Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, is doing, of course, is because they share the same progressive values. They share the same worldview on things like climate change and the growth of government and the need to lock down during the pandemic. And they think anyone who disagrees with them, such as Freedom Convoy truckers, need to be eviscerated in the media. But there's another reason. And you have to thank the Canadian Taxpayers Federation for finding it out. The fact is, the Liberals have been very, very good financially to the CBC since they came back to power in 2015. Not only have they added about $300 million a year, $300 million a year to the CBC's budget, bringing it to about $1.3 billion in taxpayer subsidies every year for the CBC. Not only have the Liberals done that, during the pandemic, they gave the CBC an extra $21 million to stabilize the corporation during the pandemic. And then they gave them $42 million last fall to help them come out of the pandemic. Well, if that stabilization money had been so good, why did they need an extra $42 million to come out of the pandemic? The Liberals look for any excuse they can to throw money at the CBC. During the pandemic, the CBC paid out over $51 million in bonuses and raises to its employees. The average bonus was $14,000 a year. Did you get a $14,000 a year bonus during the pandemic? Did you get a raise? No, but if you worked for the CBC, you probably did. And that's all thanks to the Liberals using their leverage to take money from taxpayers, many of whom were struggling during the pandemic, and give it to the CBC so that they could pay it out in bonuses and raises. But now the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has found yet another bit of Liberal largesse to the CBC. Since the Liberals took over in 2015, the number of CBC employees making more than $100,000 a year has doubled from just over 400 to about 949. Doubled. There are twice as many people at the CBC making $100,000 a year now as there were 7 years ago when the Liberals took over. Now, some of that is inflation. I give you that. Some of that is experiences and raises and that sort of thing. But it's just because the government keeps pumping millions and millions and millions into the CBC's budget every year. A total, like I said, of $1.3 billion a year to the CBC. It's not hard to figure out why the CBC gives the Liberals such cozy treatment, why it fawns all over the Prime Minister, why it finds that the Freedom Convoy truckers are such a threat to Canada, because they're a threat to the government that the CBC loves. The CBC should be disbanded. Its money should be returned to taxpayers. And that's the simple truth. For Postmedia, I'm Lorne Gunter.